knowledge when it is given every day. And we have been experiencing the same since the past 7 years. I am very privileged and honored to welcome Dr. Rucha Brahmbhatt in our campus today. At first sight, Pratiksha and Jyotsna from semester 6. I invite ma'am to come on the dais so that they can be given a floor welcome. I'd like to thank Jayesh Bhai to be here when he's present today. So when I when you say something about Dr. Rucha ma'am, she has a vast experience of 26 years in the field of teaching. She's the head of the department, UG&PG, Department of English, Samarpan College. She has been a PhD guide, out of which she's got 11 students under her guidance and 4 have been already awarded their doctorate. She's in the PhD advisory board of PDEU for the last 12 years. She's a part of the PhD committee for Gujarat University and she's a member of the Board of Studies of Gujarat University. These are her academic achievements, but if I talk about her personality, she's a very humble person and easy to reach. She is not a new personality to our stage. She has been here with us in the past 2 talks as well. The topic for today that ma'am will be talking is the 20th century American literature. Without further delay, I invite ma'am to come to the dais. I invite ma'am to the dais so that we can be blessed with whatever she has to say for us for American time. Ma'am.
Thank you, Pooja, for that comprehensive introduction. Good morning, students. At the outset, I would like to thank GUETA and especially Dr. Nitesh Bhai Solanki sir for giving me this opportunity. I am also thankful to Rashmi ma'am, Pooja ma'am, and special thanks to Dr. Jayesh Manandkar. And of course, students, without you, this morning would not have been possible. So at the outset, I would like to thank you all. And as Pooja ma'am said, my today's presentation is about the 20th century American literature. This is the topic that you study in paper number 316, that is essays. You also study American literature in 314, right? It's an optional paper.
Hello.
So what do you know about America?
Hello, somebody.
You study 314, right? Do you study the history? Do you study the history of America? So when I'm talking about America, I'm talking about this, right? America is a continent. It has been divided into 2, the North America and the South America. North America is known as United States of America. The South America is known as the Latin America, right? So today I will be talking about North America, and the paper that you study, that is a 314 EA optional paper, is about North American literature. So before we begin with the 20th century, can you tell me something about America? What do you know about North America? See, America is a big brother that is watching us. It is something that has become part of our life, right? So we need to know about America. on. Yes, please. Very nice. Amerigo Vespucci. Was he the discoverer? Who discovered America? Right, it is named after Amerigo Vespucci. So Columbus discovered America. The land is named after Amerigo Vespucci. You are absolutely correct. So Christopher Columbus, he was sponsored by the Queen of Spain in 1492, and he was an explorer. Right? Amerigo Vespucci was not an explorer. Columbus was an explorer, and he reached the land in 1492, but where did he land? He had 4 voyages, and he had landed at Bahamas, the islands of Bahamas, Jamaica. So he was not the one who put his foot on America, but he brought the information about the land which had ample of possibilities to Europe. Then, based on the information received from Christopher Columbus, as you rightly pointed out, Amerigo Vespucci, he was a merchant. He was not an explorer. In 1497, he reached the land for merchandise because there were possibilities of developing agriculture, possibility of developing industry, steel-based things. So for that he entered actually into what we call America today. And therefore the land has been named after Amerigo. So this is the basic thing, because we are talking about America all the time. We are using WhatsApp, we are using Facebook, we are using Instagram. If I send you a message right now, it would first go to America and would come to you. Right? In a flash of a light, it goes to America. So America is part of our life today. We need to know about the country that is controlling us. So, and history is, so literature, when I talk about 20th century literature, it is the history that matters. Because what is S.T.S. Eliot has said, that our present is nothing but the pastness of our past. So we need to know the past first when we talk about it. Is no literature survives in isolation. There is always some cause-effect relationship. So, as we are studying in paper number 314, I will take only a few minutes to give you some background about American literature. That once Amerigo Vespucci entered into the land, Europeans, they started flowing in. And in 1620, a ship called Mayflower, it reached the land. It had started from England's Plymouth. Plymouth is the place from where it started in 1620. Somewhere around September, reached America on 11th of November, 1620. Why this is important, I tell you. Another thing is that these Europeans were not very creative, because from where they started, they took the same nomenclature for the land, where they landed. So from England they came to New England, from Plymouth they came to Plymouth. The place where they landed they call it Plymouth, the place where they landed they call it New York. They added one prefix called New England, New Hampshire, New York, New. So this is how they gave names to the places. The new America started with New York. So is it that there was nobody on the land? No, there were people. You study in the history that from 1500 to 1620, the documents that we get from America, we get the writings about, not the writings from, writings about the people who were staying in America, the natives of America. So what was the contrast when these Europeans landed on America in a Mayflower ship? Once they entered, there were natives. So these were the people from Europe. you can see in the picture that they were all civilized, well-dressed, with a sword, suit and boot, gowns, very, very civilized, educated people that had entered into the land. And what was the land made up of? Of these people, the natives. And these people, they were very, very naive. They were not exposed to the foreigner people. There were 150 tribes when these Europeans entered into the land. So, of course, there was a conflict. When someone enters into your home, the first thing is resistance. So these people, they resisted. There was a conflict among the Europeans and the natives. But these European people, they are smart enough. So what they did was, and this is a beautiful painting. I don't know whether you can see the painting. Is it visible? So you can see that they offered food, they offered gifts to the natives. So first there was a resistance, there was conflict, and somehow they could manage to mingle with these people. And on, as I said, on the 11th of November 1620, they invited the natives for a party, and they called it Thanksgiving. Have you heard the word Thanksgiving? Right? Thanksgiving is either observed on the 3rd or the 4th of Thursday in November, remembering and thanking the native people. And even today, America observes a national holiday on Thanksgiving. So when you read the 20th century literature, you will come across many such references to Thanksgiving. And this is the history that the settlers, they had entered into the land, and to get rid of the guilty of taking away things from the Native Americans, a kind of Thanksgiving was offered. And you can see in the picture that they offered a turkey. And so even today, on Thanksgiving, a turkey has been offered. So the European settlers, they settled there in various, so these were people from different places, like from Spain, from England, from France. They started establishing their own colonies, and there were 13 colonies initially. 13 colonies, and they started functioning on their own independently. So first they had their own flag showing 13 stars in the flag. At present, how many stars are there in the American flag?
50.
5
This flag shows 13 colonies. Colonies then converted into states that became United States. So how many stars are there in the flag of America? 50. There are 50 states. So it has 50 stars. So this is how they settled. Now the land offered lot of opportunities for agriculture, especially in the fields of cotton, and manforce was required. So these people, the Europeans, were already ruling in Africa. So from Africa, they brought slaves. Around by 18th century, there were around 12 million Africans who brought to America. 12 million is what? More than 1 crore? And Africa is a huge continent. How many countries are there in Africa? When we say Africa, Africa is not a nation, it is a continent. How many nations are, how many countries are there? 54. 54 countries, imagine. People from 54 countries were brought to America. Now when I say that I belong to Asia, there are many countries in Asia. That doesn't mean that we speak the same language, we belong to the same culture, we have the same traditions. No. So the people who were brought on the land of America, though they were Africans, they had nothing in common between them, among them. Right? They were people speaking different languages. What was so common about them? It was the color of the skin and their appearance. That was it. Nothing was common. So they did not know each other. Therefore, they could not gather, as a union for a long time. Had it been from one country or one language-speaking people, they could have gathered against the mainstream. But this was the reason that for many years they could not come together because they wanted to have one single language to communicate. So these were the people who were brought to the land. In America, so in 1789, America got free from its own fatherland, that is England, and announced its independence. The sense of the nation, it developed among the people who were living on the land. So starting from 1600 to 1789, people were living in fragmented places. As a nation, that it goes to George Washington, the founding father, who brought that sense among these people that we belong to the same nation. That is what Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel did here in India, uniting people, uniting the states. So that is what George Washington had done. And on 4th of July 1776, America got independent. It got its independence from Europe. Now I jump to 1820 1865, that is the 19th century. It is known as the Romantic Age or the American Renaissance. When we talk about American Romanticism, it implies American Transcendentalism. And you know that how it was different from European Romanticism or English Romanticism, that these romantic poets and the writers, they included or they were influenced by the Indian philosophy. So their romanticism includes Vedanta, that is Upanishad, Indian classics. So if you read Emerson, you will find the titles of his poems as a Brahma. There are references to Mandukya Upanishad in his poems. So this romanticism is not exactly like what we talk about, because Indian philosophy or Indian classics, they talk about nature in a very different way. Right? Nature is something that is not different from us. There is so what we call Advaitavad, that is belonging to the same Aham Brahmasmi kind of philosophy. So this is something that influences people. So that transcendentalism, this was the time, and at this parallel movement was the industrialization in America. In 1857, when it comes to India, what is the date? Why do we remember the year 1857? Right. Here, this map shows the brown areas. These are the brown areas where I have taken it.
Confident state of
pointer. These brown areas where the Afro-Americans used to live. So those 12 million black Americans, they were not allowed to move towards the states which were occupied by the mainstream white Americans. So these lines are known as the color lines. In 1857, it was called the lines were called the color lines. And they used to have one caricature called Jim Crow, an African, and during those days they used to call these Africans who came from 54 different nations as niggers. Now that word has been banned, we don't call them Negroes, but then during those days they were called Negroes, and Jim Crow was a representative caricature wearing the cat upside down, even today, and dancing on the streets. So this type of segregation that we could see between the mainstream Americans and the black Americans. Good morning, Shipranan. And I'm feeling honored that my senior is here. Thank you for coming. Thank you. So you can see clearly that these were the states that were assigned to the black Africans, and they were not allowed to go beyond that. This was the condition in which they used to work on the fields. You must have read Harriet Stowe's Uncle Tom's Cabin, right? Where he made extensive descriptions of how this slavery had made the black Americans vulnerable as victims. Though this was probably the fourth or fifth generation of the land, but they were not the Americans. They were not the citizens. So, and these are the children and women working on cotton fields. These photographs are from the Guardian, and these were taken in around 1900. With this background, we come to 20th century American literature because it echoes the earlier age. Now, 20th century American literature can be divided, it's a span of 100 years. And we are talking about it in one go. So it is divided into two phases. The first half is from 1900 to 1945. It is called modernism, and there was another parallel movement called Harlem Renaissance. Why 1945 and not 1950?
World War.
The hub would be at 1950, but why 1945?
World War II.
Absolutely correct. That was the end of the Second World War, right? So from there, after so post-World War years are known as post-modernist America, and another parallel movement that we see is Beat Generation. These were like Harlem and Beat Generations. They were the movements that captured American sensibility for 20, 30 years. But when we talk about modernism and postmodernism, even today, America talks about postmodernism, in 21st century. So we go to 20th century America, and as you correctly pointed out, that it was America was surviving between the two world wars. Can you guess who is in the photograph? Is he a soldier? Which text do you study in 314? How many of you have opted for American literature people in the 314? Majority of you have opted for it, right? Which text do you study? The Old Man and the Sea, US People, Old Man and the Sea. This is always coming late. Fitzgerald. He used to go on the battlefield. So the literature that we get from them, it talks about the wars, the background of wars. This is when Ernest Hemingway was deployed for Austria and Italy war, fighting against Germany. And so many historians, they have described the period between the two world wars as traumatic coming of age. And there was a lot of trauma. I showed you some pictures. Even today we see how it is happening in Ukraine, and the images are so disturbing. And any sensitive writer would write about it. That is what happened, that trauma, in order to come out from the trauma, it was a cathartic compulsion for these writers to write about war. Hemingway's For Whom the Bell Tolls is a fantastic novel written about Spanish war. Whenever you get time, see, the best part about American literature, 20th century, maybe earlier also, that they have been adapted into movies. These texts, majority of the texts, and you also study one essay called the adaptation of literary text into films. For Whom the Bell Tolls, it was nominated for Oscar in 9 categories. And once I was listening to an interview from Dilip Kumar sir. Before becoming an actor, he had watched the movie for 21 times. 21 times. Why? And the journalist asked him why, and he said the story. The director is, of course, direction, acting, everything, and above all, it's the story. So very close to Ernest Hemingway. So whenever you get time, please watch that movie if you don't have time to read the book. For Whom the Bell Tolls is a line from John Donne's poem. It calls for thee. It's a metaphysical poem. Ernest Hemingway has taken the titles from Bible. The sun also rises. It is a title from Bible. He is talking about the world after wars. The sun also rises. So the point is, so it is also known as a traumatic coming of age, and in a post-industrial revolution era, America had moved from an agrarian nation to an urban nation with the rise of technology, and the lives of these Americans were radically different from those of their parents. I think it's true for every generation. Post-COVID era, your life is very different from your parents' life, right? It is certainly different. So, after wars, parents had, that is, in 19th century, the great-grandparents lived different life than the 20th century. Life and literature is what? It is the reflection of life ultimately. So, what were the causes of the modernist temper? When we talk about American modernism, these were the causes. Of course, the First World War, Second World War, urbanization, industrialization, immigration. I'll come to the point with photographs so that the visual effects will also help you understand technological evolution, then growth of modern science. There were innovations taking place simultaneously in the field of science after Darwin, right? Thinking, the perspectives of the entire world had changed after Darwin, and that had also influenced a person called Sigmund Freud, Karl Marx. So these were the causes that had influenced the literature during the first phase of 20th century in America. So these are the images from war. This is from the First World War. You can see the massacre, how people were killed. And when you read the poetry, when you read plays, and this had given birth to absurdity, absurd plays. Because why war? And a few people's a handful of people decide our life, and in the morning there is everything changes. We have seen those visuals right now. Even when there was a war between Russia and there is a war, it's going on between Russia and Ukraine. That men were asked to leave